Aha, bonjour, Nindoe Magani Duke, Dewe Gana Indigenous Cause, Makwado Dem, Ojibwe Nishnanabe and Dao, Nijo Madeo, Akabikan Dunjaba, Meanwhile, Shabitan, Meanwhile, Match Benashwish, Gunlik Indida, Niwi Jaganashib Ajina. So, hello, friends and relatives. I just want to let you know, start off with my traditional greeting. Um, my name is Dewegan, which means drum, and I come from the Bear Clan, and originally from Twin Cities, Minnesota. I make my home here in Michigan, and you know, um, my Anishinaabe knows when wanted to kind of let you know who I am, where I come from, but also my English name, my name I go by here in this dominant society, I guess it would be James Bud Day. Most people call me Bud, um, but yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit here this morning about um, our uh, our Shkode and what it means to us as Anishinaabe people, as well as to Anishinaabe Niniwak, to our Anishinaabe Native men in general. So as we learn about our teachings, we learn about um, the different responsibilities we have, the roles that we have within our Anishinaabe culture, and our life ways, our traditional um, teachings and followings. We know that our genders play a strong role in our communities. They have very important responsibilities. Um, within our the way we live, the way in that our ceremonies and different things like that. The duality and that balance that Anishinaabeg way back when operated. They operated with that respect for one another, that kind, loving, trusting ability that we gave each other as genders, and it's not to be anything like looked upon as like, oh, women are only supposed to do this and only men are supposed to do that, because we know that traditionally in our parenting roles and our different things like that we we had those teachings built in for a reason, and we had those traditional responsibilities. So that being said, we know that, or most of us know, and if you don't, that's fine too. But one of the main responsibilities of our Kwewag, our Ikwe, and our Ikwezens, is our water. That's something that they look after, they care for, they pray over. They it is within themselves. It's how they bring life here to this earth, from the spiritual realm here to the physical realm, and we know that that's a part of who they are, one of their responsibilities. And so, as men, as Ininiwag, as Inini, as Guizans, we part of our responsibility, one of the major things that we look after in our culture is the fire, the Ishkode or Shkode. So, you know, um, and it plays a big part too. And traditionally, from our gatherings, our feasts, um, different things like that. We have that responsibility for our sacred fires, our ceremonial fires, things like that too as well. And part of that, uh, the women bringing the men, or bringing the children in, from the spiritual world, the spiritual realm to our physical realm. That fire also plays a part in our Anishinaabe teachings when we are sending that spirit back from this physical realm to our spiritual realm, our spirit world, and that fire is an integral part in that as well. So there's always that duality, always that interconnectiveness. Making up words here, but there's always that balance. And so when it comes to our traditional fires, our traditional sacred fires, whether it's for ceremony, sweat lodge, full moon ceremony, um, maybe a sacred spirit fire for those loved ones that may have went on. Um, those are meant to be, started in the most traditional sense that can be, and long time ago, before we encountered our certain metals and things like that, after contact, there was different ways where we started fire as well, but with the bow and things like that. But more recently, and it still is considered a sacred way of starting our fires, is our flint and steel. And so, I'm going to talk a little bit about that bundle, talk a little bit about what that bundle can entail, what can be included in that bundle, and it there's certain teachings too where a long time ago these bundles were carried by certain people in the community, certain men, were asked to do that, and now so it's not so much, so our communities, that's one thing that our communities, Anishinaabeg communities across this whole Turtle Island, we really, as of late, have struggled with is fire keepers. Those men that carry those fire bundles, those men that fire keep, tend and watch over the fires, and so that's one thing that we're really trying to encourage our menfolk and our young men in our communities is to get a fire bundle, get some stuff together, learn about the teachings, seek those elders or those men who carry those teachings, seek them out, and get a little bit more understanding about what is entailed. But really, traditionally, those sacred fires, they should be started in a way of such where they're not just lighting a match or getting paper and taking a lighter and starting them, and if that's all that you have, and that then that's fine, because as Anishinaabeg people, we know that we are a very, very resourceful people. We are very resilient in what we need to do and getting things done when we need to get them done. But if we have the ability, if we have the know-how, and we have the access to them, we should be trying to stick to those traditional ways, those traditional followings of starting our fires in a sacred way, starting those things in that sense. And so, when we're talking about our fire bundle, our flint and steel bundle, obviously the very some of the very first things you might need are tobacco. It should always have tobacco. I keep my tobacco in a little pouch like this, and so you can always zip it up and use. You have your sema that you put in there. So that's what I like to keep my sema in, and then also as well, you should have your striker, which is a steel striker. You can get that many trading post places like that. Also, you can have them made. I have a buddy of mine that had an old steel file, and brought it to a workshop, a metal shop, told him what he wanted, and so that way, this is really hardened steel and it sparks really well. But also, as you can see here, it's very thick, and compared to one you might get like at trading posts or like somewhere online like Knock Bay or Crazy Crow, somewhere like that. And so you lessen the risk of catching your knuckles on your flint. So you can find flint, you can harvest it yourself, you can order it online as well. But you have your flint and steel, and then next important medicine that you should be looking for, and is a medicine that grows on our wigwas. It grows on our birch trees. So this here is called Skatogan, and it's a fungi that is grown on the birch trees where maybe a branch broke off or where it was cut into but it has very, very much healing properties within it. It has very, very much nutrients that come not only from the tree but from the earth itself, and so it's also used as a very, very good medicine, to be used in tea fashion, but also it's catches a spark really well. And so you should be looking for Skatagan. If you do not have Skatagan and you are looking to, you can also use char rope or char cloth, and it looks something like this. You can make it. There's tutorials on how to make it, but char cloth is another very good, useful option if you do not have Skatagan. Here, where I'm at in Michigan, we don't have readily available birch. So whenever we go up north or in places that are rich in birch bark, I'm always on the lookout for Skatagan, because that is a medicine that we don't have in this part of the area where I live. Another thing to have on hand is your birch bark here, like that. You can have your birch bark, and put that in. You're gonna want to use that when you're making your bundle as well. And then another good thing to have is your sage. You can always have your sage on hand. So what I like to do when I'm making my bundle is have all these things available, and I keep all my fire bundle in just a canvas tote. You can get them; they're fairly inexpensive. You want a kind of a little bit of a bigger size, so you can have your your SEMA, all your different medicines, different things like that. Then also, some things to have, that you're not necessarily going to keep inside that tote, are some matches in case you have inclement weather, or maybe a lighter in case, you always want to try to do your best to do in a traditional manner, but you might want to have that. Also have maybe a small cedar log to start using your kindling. Cedar is rich in oils and things like that, and it will start even when it's damp, even when it's wet, rainy, cold, snowing, and maybe a good hatchet. It's always gonna, people may have firewood for you, but you're always gonna need a hatchet or an axe to make some kindling to start. So you're gonna want to start by preparing everything backwards. Having all your fuel, your firewood ready, then your kindling, and then your brush, grass, inner barkings of cedar or ash. Make a good nest, and there's teachings to why we make that nest for when we're making a fire. So having your kindling and things ready, and having your nest of whether it's dry grass or some type of inner barking, or even you make a nest of birch bark. And then what I like to do is make a smaller nest of my sage, and then I will have that ready so that I uh, when I strike, I put my shtagan on top of my. Don't need that big of a piece, but put your shtagan on top of your flint, and when you strike it and you get your spark to catch on your shtagan here, you can then transfer that to your nest, and then you're always going to need to have a fan or something to fan the flames as well. And traditionally there's a teaching too. I'm not going to go too much into it too much about the teaching, but there's also a teaching to us as Anishinaabeg people when we're creating that fire that we really try to refrain from blowing into it. We want to use that a feather or fan, or it doesn't have to be eagle feather, it doesn't have to be eagle fan. It could be any type of fan. Turkey wings work great for starting fire. Also, you don't need to worry about sparks ruining your feathers or anything like that too. So some type of a fan to get it going, and then once you get it going, you want to feed that fire with a smaller kindling, and so yeah, so basic teachings of some of our responsibilities of our Anishinaabeg work here as men, starting and looking after, taking care of that fire, having the respect for it as well. That fire is animate. It's living. It has a spirit, and but also it can be very dangerous. So it needs to be tended and looked after, and treated with respect in that way as well. So I always want to be mindful. Never let it unattended. You're always going to want to have someone sitting with that fire, watching it carefully, and being respectful, being mindful that no trash or anything like that is thrown into those fires that are considered sacred fires. All fire is sacred, but there's different times and different fires for different various reasons, and just wanting to be respectful of that, because that we know how important that fire is to us as Anishinaabeg Nini, and so again, when you are really encouraging you to, if you're looking towards this work of being a firekeeper, or someone who is able to be looked towards to start those fires in your community, start simple. Even if it's just looking and finding flint and steel, and then you can build. Everybody's fire bundles look different. Everybody has different things in theirs. I showed you a little bit of what my fire bundle entails, but these are the way I was shown, the way I utilize, and by no means is it the only way, or the end all be all when it comes to fire bundles. Whatever was shared with you today here, take that, take whatever you can use, and if you can use something and build your own fire bundle, and maybe possibly use some teachings from some elders in your community as well. Maybe you also have fire keepers that seek those ones out, and again, if this is something that you're looking towards, or even if you just wanted a little bit more understanding about that, definitely encouraging, all of our menfolk and young men to learn about, our shkode, how important it is, and how to take care of it, and how to start it. Again, showing just a little bit here today. There's many more teachings that go into it, but something to get you started, something to get your mind thinking, and also just getting you, just the basic fire teachings, and who knows, maybe sometime down the line, yeah, each of you will have your own fire bundle and able to do these things as well. So, say about that much. I want to say Chimigwich, for your time, and allow me to share a little bit about what I know. Miigwech.